Hey everybody, it's Doug here, Doug Mystic Eye on Board Game Geek. Welcome you to another playthrough of a game, a new board game. This one's not brand new, but it's new enough, and it was published by an independent little publisher, so it didn't get. I don't think it gets the airtime it probably deserves. Luckily I grabbed a copy of this called Shadows of Malice from a few copies they had at Cool Stuff Inc. and I was able to pick it up. I had read about it and watched a couple things on it and thought it looked pretty cool. Saw a Gen Con video. It's cooperative. It's right down my alley. Got a fantasy theme to it, but a nice twist on it, which I'll go over in a little bit. But and again, this can be a particularly long game. Just so you know, on the box it says it can run from 2 to 6 hours. Now, the way I have the game set up, which I'll show you in a minute, should be about a 2-hour game. And there's good news about this. But by the way, I'm going to start off with this is my learning session. It's the first time I'm going to be playing it. I've read the rules, I've looked up things online, and I've read the FAQ. So I think I have a decent idea of how to play. I'm sure I'll stumble along the way and we'll find some mistakes together. But I want to say that while the rules are very well written, there wasn't a good summary of the rules, which was kind of boggling my mind as I got to the end of it, because the game's actually fairly deep. And like I said, the rule book is well written. It's got very good, it's very to the point and articulate, and you get it, but you got to remember it all. So the good news is the FAQ does, in fact, have kind of a player ordered and summary attached to it. The FAQ I got from their website. It's at Devious Weasel Games, but as you can see, there is actually a turn order listed there, which you will not find in the rulebook itself. It's just explained in each chapter in order, but it's very detailed. So let's get along, and I'll show you how we set up the game and then how we go about playing it. First, we'll talk about setup, and I'm going to talk about bits and components as well. And then we'll continue on. So here I have the game set up. It's a solo play, and I'm using what's recommended in the rulebook, which is if you're going to play solo, well, kind of recommended. It says play with 3 players and perhaps 1 map, but I'm playing with 2. Because I wanted to give you a really good idea of the game. And this is how the game looks when it's first set up. So here we have these wells that are covered in this other land. I'll have to remember what some of the names of the land are called. But anyway, that's where the evil shadow lord, Zathul, I think his name is, or something to that effect. Here, I'm going to look it up for you. The world we're in is called Athos, or Athos, and it's Zulthul is the dark, shadowy presence that is going to destroy the land. And what's interesting about this game is while it's based in fantasy, and you'll see some fantasy tropes, it has a really cool, new, different theme. So, I was a little disappointed when I first saw that the characters weren't represented by actual character pieces or something like that. But what I liked about it when I read about it is you are avatars of light being brought down in manifestation of physical form to defeat this evil and try and uncover the light wells and prevent Zulthul from coming through to the land and destroying it. The beasts that you fight are animals infected by shadows, so they have different form and shape, and you roll on these things to determine what you're fighting. It's pretty cool stuff. So the theme is different. There are no elves or trolls or goblins or orcs, nothing like that. You're fighting mutated ordinary beasts that have been driven by evil. You're fighting the shadows of this. They're reflections of this great lord that will come onto the board, and you'll see how that goes. And of course, there's the great lord himself. He may come on the board. That's your worst scenario, because then you have to defeat him directly. So what did we set up here? Let's just go over very quickly. We placed our characters here. Now that's not the first part of the setup. We got to set up the board. Now what we did here is you see these are fortresses, and underneath those they're purposely turned that way because underneath them are light wells and dark wells, and we're going to try and uncover them, and so is the game itself, the evil that we're fighting against. we want to uncover light wells, because if we uncover both of them, we can essentially win the game. However, if we fail to do so, or the darkness uncovers them and destroys them first, then we will lose the game. Well, actually, it would bring about the rise of Zulthul. Then we'd have to fight him directly, and he's kind of tough. So, what we have on the map is we have a lot of terrain, and what's interesting is that terrain costs points, and it's pretty clear on this board how you do that. There's a nice board that comes with it, shows you the movement points of each terrain type, and I'll show you how movement works. Kind of unique and different. There's a lot of dice chucking in the game, but it's mitigated by things you do, so you do have some ability to influence that. These paw prints are layers, and they are stocked layers at the beginning of the game, and we're going to do something with part of the setup that I'll show you. I'm going to remove 2 of them as part of the setup. Well, actually, be 3 of them, where our heroes actually get to take some items in the initial game. That's a normal game. A challenging game, we wouldn't uncover any of them, and our guys wouldn't start with any items. But that's these things. These are layers. These M's here are mystics, and there are mystics that have certain talents that they can provide to the players once we uncover them. And then these blue icons here are cities, and again, the cities also have different abilities that we can apply. I don't know if they're showed on here or not. Now, this is all the symbology, but anyway, the cities are in the FAQ in the book, and they kind of have different things. One might be able to heal you, one might be able to purge you of being drained or curses. That's the mystic, I think. But anyway, you get the idea. When you uncover a city, it has a very specific, certain ability. We're going to have 2 cities in this game, and we're going to have a couple of mystics as well. That's for there's 1 on each board. Now, we're going to move around. These represent our people. You see a blue and a yellow one here. They've come out of this gate, and these gates are similar to the ones you see in the Darklands, but this is where we have come down to manifest. And then there's a red one on the other board up here. This is where they start, and they can move around the board and accomplish certain tasks. Now, in a multiplayer game, this would represent, each one of these would represent a player. I'm not, these dice don't mean anything. I just use the colors because I didn't want to, playing all the characters, I might forget who's what color, so I did try to match it to their card as well, but the white one is actually red. Not a big deal. So red, blue, and yellow. This is almost golden, but it's close enough. It'll keep me straight. So what you see here is our masteries. When we manifest in physical form, we gain a mastery. So our first character here, the red character, is the Shard Shepherd, and you'll understand what those abilities do as we play. And they also have a special ability they can activate. And you see the little circle right there. I mean, the clear circle means you can activate it with these clear soul shards. And he's got 6 of those. Normally you start with 3 clear ones and 3 of your color, and his color is clear, so he's got 6 of these. So then we have the Battle Strategist, who gets a bonus in combat and has a special ability that's blue, a blue shard, and also starts with 3 shards, and you can use those for different things. For instance, to add to a die roll or things of that nature as well as fueling the special abilities you have. Then we have the Pathfinder, who gets additional movement and also has a special ability that can activate with the soul shard, and we can gain more soul shards from defeating creatures on the board, which I'll show you as we go. Then you have a bunch of decks as well, so I'm going to kind of pan up and show you the decks. There's also a whole bunch of tokens. Most of them that we need are in play, with the exception of the shadows, which look like this. Those will come out too, and they come out in a kind of a triggered random mechanism that will bring them onto the board, and then once they're on the board, they're going to beeline toward one of the places of power that we need to get to first. But anyway, let's go talk about these cards. Anyway, you can see a bunch of decks here. So let's talk about components for a minute. The components are actually really high quality. They're simple. So, like I was imagining when I looked at this, if this was produced by Fantasy Flight Games, these layers might be little miniature caves and stuff like that, and the avatars might have been look like angels or who knows what, and maybe the artwork would have been more photorealistic on the boards, but the quality actually is very good. The components are nice and thick, all the bits and chits, and you can see this card stock is very good. The boards themselves are very thick, and the cards are of good quality. They're just simple, and I don't mind that. But like, for instance, there is artwork. There's treasure. See this bat slime armor here has some stats on it. It has good, decent artwork, and it's just kind of simple. But what do we have? We have our masteries. There are 18 of these, and you saw the 3 that we have. Now we can, at some point in time, choose to re-manifest as something else, or if we die, we will manifest as something else, with some other penalties for dying. But we can actually become or use these other masteries. Again, there are 18 in the game. The fate deck. Well, when you make a move, you also roll to see if you have if you gain a fate. If you roll doubles during your movement, I'll show you how that works. Then there's a fate die and a move die. If they're doubles on the dice, then you get a fate card. They have a wide variety of abilities, some good, some bad. And you usually will have one in play at any given time. The abilities cards are for the beasts that you're going to fight. So, yeah, it's right here. When you roll to see what kind of creature you're facing, you see that, where is it? Abilities, there's an abilities chart. Oh, there we go. Creature abilities right here. And based on how many dark wells are open, the creatures will have potentially more abilities. But you can see that 1, 2, and what we do is when we fight a creature, we get to find out what kind of creature it is, and we're going to draw one of these ability cards, and that represents special creature abilities that manifested when the animal or whatever became evil and infested with shadows. Then we have a potions deck. There's lots of potions in the game. We can buy them from mystics as well. And then, of course, I showed you one of the cards from the treasures deck. Troves. They're all called troves. So that's a treasure trove, potion trove. That's what the term is in the game. And then we also have these radiance tokens. And radiance tokens are going to grant us additional abilities as well. We get those from doing things like uncovering light wells in the world that will bring about the light and the bright shininess. And then you can see there's a massive bowl of additional crystals. Like I said, the components are great. Lots of big hit point tokens. And again, these life tokens, hit point tokens, are real thick stock. Very good. Anyway, those are the decks that we have, and you're going to see those come out through the game. Now, as part of our setup, we are going to draw one of those as well as a potion. So let's get to that, because then I can show you what is actually in some of those decks. So I reserved the last bit of setup so you could watch it, and I could show you what I'm doing. This, again, these are the 3 characters that we have. This is their 5 hit points. This is their mastery card, meaning giving their ability. We have the Shard Shepherd with their things. Now, each one of them is going to gain a single potion. So, for instance, he got a poison grenade, does some damage, and it's hurled at a target, and that's going to go right there with him. The battle strategist is going to get a. Looks like I may need to shuffle these up a little bit. Thought I did, but maybe not enough. I'm just going to give him a quick shuffle, just make sure we get a good variety of cards amongst, so you can see how the game plays. This game is, again, reading the rules and everything, watching what I watch, I think this is going to be a really fun game, and I hope you enjoy watching this. But anyway, let's get on with it. So let's get we got a Substance of Shadow. That's a major combat card, plus 4D, and I'll show you what the D star means. Interesting mechanic in the game. And then we have the Fever Grenade. Okay, so that's going to be fire-based. It's hurled target, single target, immediate effects, so we can use that as well. So we didn't get any healing potions or anything like that, everything damaging. But for a moment we have to go back to the board, because to get an item we have to take one of the tokens off of the board for the layers to say that they are no longer automatically stocked with an item. And to take an item each, we need to do that for all 3 of our guys. So we're going to start with our Shard Shepherd, we'll go to our Battle Strategist, and the Pathfinder. So strategically, I think the right thing to do in this case would be to take the ones that are least likely to get to. So, I'm thinking that for the Shard Shepherd, he's going to probably take this one off the board. And I just want to flip them up. I'm going to leave them on there just so I know that those layers are still there, and they still might yield treasure. But they're not guaranteed to have a treasure like they are in the case of when you first go into them. And what did he get? He got the Tome of Secrets as an item. The Avatar may learn the true nature of the well and any one stronghold. The well does not become revealed. Wow, that's pretty powerful. We'll have to see how that works. That's going to be the item for the Shard Shepherd there. Now we're going to go on to the Battle Strategist, and I think he's going to take care of this one. I'm taking the ones out of the water because those seems like they might be a little harder to get to. So he's going to take that. We're going to take a Treasure Trove card. He got the Grim Grim Shield, which I got to read and see what this ability does, but I'm sure it'll be very easily explained. Everything's explained very well in the game, but that is a defensive item. And then we have the Pathfinder, which one are we going to take for the Pathfinder? Let's see. Yeah, I think we'll take this one up here. Get rid of the ones in the water. That would make the most sense anyway. At least that's what makes sense now. We got a planar shield. Okay, so these actually affect damage from different powers, and so we'll show you how that works. But we got two guys with shields. Now there's shields, swords, or shields, weapons, armor, blah blah blah, and you can have one of each kind in your hand. So let's go back and look at our characters again. So here's how we look right now. That's going to be our setup as the game begins, and I'm just going to play an order from the Shard Shepherd down, and probably keep that order. It says you can play them any order given in a given turn, but I think we'll just do that. And for this session, I'm probably, because I've done some rules explanation a little bit, I'm just going to do one turn, and then I'll come back and we'll continue on with the turns in the further episodes. And depending on how long the turns each take, when combat occurs, those turns might be long. So I might just do one turn of video, which might make this very long, and I'm not going to commit to you that I'm going to go all the way through the end of the series unless I get a lot of people saying please do, just because I think it might be really long. Might be very enjoyable though, so let's see. I think the best thing to do now is just get started and start taking a turn. And again, we're going to start with our Shard Shepherd, who is red. Now, the first thing you typically do on your turn is you move and you take an action. Once you've taken an action, you cannot move any farther. So you have to choose what you're going to do. You got to complete all of your movement before you do anything in regards to an action. But what we're going to do first is roll for our movement. And I'm going to go to the dice bowl, and we're going to roll for the moves for our first guy and our Shard Shepherd, and I'll show you how that works. So for movement, we're going to say that the white die will always be our fate die, and that the black die will always be our movement die. And we're going to see, now we're going to roll this, we're going to add 2 to this for our movement. And you'll see what that does when we go. It's just basically it gives us movement points. We're going to add 2. We can add through abilities and items to that, but we're not going to do that right now. So let's just roll and see what we get. So we did not roll doubles. That's all that this die accounts for, is to see if we match, because then we draw a fate die. So we're going to have 4 points to move on. Let's go back to the board and I'll show you how that works. So we're right here on this gate. We just appeared and manifested there. And we're going to want to move to this mystic. And you can see that we have to go through 2 different types of terrain. We have to go through a forest, which costs 2 movement points, and then the wilds, which cost 3. So I don't know that we can get, well, we can also move now this swamp area, the gray, the swamp also costs 3. So we have a couple of choices. Well, actually, we're only 1 away. We're right here. I can move directly onto it for 3, and that'll end our movement. So we're going to go there, and we're going to turn up this mystic, and then I'm going to tell you what that up arrow mystic does. Now we know that all the mystics can brew potions. So that is always an ability that they have. But this one in particular, he restores. So Mystic with the restore ability will restore all of an avatar's drained life and radiance tokens. They will not heal wounds. So it does restoration but not healing. And you'll understand that as we go. Just to give you an example, there are 2 different types of damage you can take. You can take a wound or you can take a drain. And they are different. You can also have your other tokens flipped or lost temporarily, and they can be gained back through the process of working with this mystic, the radiance tokens, things like that. But anyway, we are visiting that mystic. So we obviously don't need to have anything restored right now, but we can actually do a potion. Now he's only got clear shards, so I don't know how this. I'm not sure how many potions are clear. But basically, we cut the deck here, looking at the back of the deck. See, the deck's actually stacked with cards. We're going to cut the deck until we find one that has our matching color, which is nothing clear. And maybe there aren't any clear ones. Maybe that's a problem. Yeah, it looks like there aren't any. So I guess we probably couldn't get any potions there. Let me see. Well, so okay, but so we uncovered that we could choose to not end our turn there because we can't actually do anything with that mystic. Passing over allows us to uncover it, and I don't believe that takes our action. I'll review that in a second. But we're going to have to stop there anyway because we can't move any further. Okay, so yeah, the one thing we can do is provoke a beast to attack us. I don't know that I want to do that yet because we haven't really gotten anything. I don't know how deadly this could be for us. I mean, we do have our Tome of Secrets. I should probably head to this fortress on the way, making my way to a city where I can get more stuff and maybe take on a layer. Now, one thing that players can do is band together, so they can create a band. And I'm going to show you how that works because the other two characters are probably going to do that. We'll see. Maybe not. Maybe they'll split up, and when they come to a big fight, they'll band together to fight the creatures because that can be helpful. But anyway, that's going to end our Shard Shepherd's move and turn. He's not going to be able to do much else there. Now, in my learning games, I'm not going to be doing the best strategies, of course, but so I don't know if it would have been wise to provoke an attack in that wild area we were in and draw a creature or not. I'm not sure. But anyway, we didn't do that. So now we're going to roll for our movement. Again, black will be movement, white will be fate for our battle strategist. And we go. He can move like crazy right now. Good thing because he's in a forested area. But he did not roll doubles, so he does not get a fate. Let's go do our movements. Remember, that's actually 8 movement points. Now, if we are in a band, our yellow character, the Pathfinder, would also roll, and whoever's got the lowest movement would be the one. That would be the movement points that we use because we've been moving together. But we do know that that forest there is going to be, that green forest is going to be a, well, it says that's wild, so that's going to be 3. So it's going to take 3. Remember, we have 8 movement points, so we can move here for 3, and we can turn that up. Looks like it's another cleanser. That's not good. So our mystics do the same thing. Yuck. It's too bad. Now he could get a blue. He's going to stop there and get a blue potion. So he's going to spend one of his blue gems and blue soul shards, and he's going to get a blue potion. Let's see what that is. We can have up to 2 potions. So we're going to keep cutting through. There's a blue. Okay, we're going to see what this blue potion does for us. It is a flask of null. It says the avatar may remove 1 blue ability from a target creature in its terrain hex. The creature will still yield a blue soul shard for the removed ability. Okay, basically what that means is when we defeat a creature and we get a boon of soul shards from that creature, we take it in the color of the ability that they had. So that's part of the reward. So anyway, that was his move. He went there and he bought himself a potion. He had a lot more movement left, but since he took an action in getting the potion, that's all he can do. So I think I'm going to have to look that up and just make sure. It still is missing a simple list of actions in the rulebook. You got to kind of sift through it. This, I didn't find it right away, but I'm going to continue on because I do believe that is an action. And we're going to go then. Oop, I move. See, this is what I got to be careful of, guys. I moved the wrong token. That's our blue token, our strategist that moved there. Now we're going to go to our Pathfinder. Okay, we're going to roll our movement die and our fate die. So no, but we do have a 7 movement. So he can get on pretty well too. I mean, heck, it seems to me to make some sense to go here as well with the mystic and get himself a yellow potion. Items and potions are going to allow us to fight. So here's his yellow shard. He's going to turn that in, and we're going to draw. We're going to keep going, thumbing through the deck until we get to a yellow. Looks like I need to shuffle these some more again as well. Anyway, there's a yellow, so we're just going to take this one. Don't know what it is. Phase Lock Grenade. It says Avatar may remove 1 yellow ability from a creature, so it's very similar to the other grenade that we got, the Flask of Null. And it allows us to remove an ability from a creature, which we will fight soon. So that would be our whole round. Now we go on to the turn of the shadow, and I'll show you how that works. So the first thing we do, which kind of makes up a bit of a timer, is we uncover a random gate. Now, just for the purposes of the game, when we're going to be moving things around this board, and whenever I have to roll for where it moves, that will always be 1, and we'll go in a circle around on our d6. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, first thing we have to do is we're going to uncover this gate here, so we're going to take that off, and now that gate is open. Should one of the shadows land on that gate, it will enter the world. And then the next thing we do is if there are no shadows in the Shadowlands, we're going to place one. And so that's going to go there, and I'm going to tell you how that works. Now the next thing we have to do is determine the life of this shadow that has appeared. You can see it's based on the number of players. So we have 3 players. So the spawning life it's going to start with is 1. Now it will get more life as it goes, and it's going to get tougher as it wanders around the Shadowlands, building up power for itself. But the first thing we have to do, if I can get one out of the bag, is give it a life point. And so basically we just take that life point and we put it underneath it, and now that's the beastie that is the shadow that is floating around in the Shadowlands, or whatever they call that realm, the Zolthal's realm, before it comes out. It's like a dreamscape area before it comes on the board. And that basically ends a full turn. So you can see that eventually we'll have a bunch of these gates in the shadow area uncovered and more creatures will be coming in. That was a simple turn. We'll just keep this nice and short for this one. That is going to be our first round. Next round we'll get into some heavier action, probably battle some creatures, maybe form a band, and get into the thick of it, because you really haven't seen what this game has to offer at this point. You've seen some basic movement and one round of the bad guys, which they are just getting started. So you haven't seen what happens when we uncover a city and attack a lair and fight off beasties and fight shadows. It's going to be pretty cool. Also gaining our Radiance tokens, things like that. So I look forward to our next turn. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoy Shadows of Malice.